This is What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta, welcome to another episode of Wow, What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks. My name is Fresh. His name is Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. You're stuck with us for the next hour. What's up, okay?
Thank you very much. Morning, brother man, for an hour-ish. Trevor is going to kill us because we always go above an hour.
In fact, let's shock him and do 45 minutes. Make it rain.
And then the followers and the viewers will say, but guys, that was too short. We're still enjoying the show.
No, sometimes give people just enough. I think the Japanese have a saying about it, that you must not eat to fill your stomach.
Yes.
Eat to sustain yourself.
Sustain your stomach.
Not to fill your stomach. Anyway, speaking of rain, it's been raining crime and bullets and criminality, so much so there was even a crime and police summit.
Yes.
And as if part of the script, there was an assassination at a Wynberg court in Cape Town.
In the Western Cape, yes.
Beginning of the week. And it's not even on the ground floor.
On the fourth floor of a court building.
How does an assassin get into a court building with a gun? Shoot and get out. Because my understanding, because I know that as a fact, a lot of judges carry. Mm-hmm. A lot of judges that might not have private security carry firearms. But their firearms are not allowed into the courthouse.
Yes.
Because it's a gun-free zone.
Exactly.
That's why many judges will have a safe in their car for their firearms so that they can leave them in the car.
Yes.
So how is a gun-free zone like a courthouse able to not detect a gun entering the court building in the first place? Because you have witnesses, you have people in witness protection, you have judges who get death threats, and a gun went in there. How?
You know, Tato, talking of, I wonder if judges can use their guns and how often are they in the shooting range. But talking of that, I remember years back, I was going to court for some case.
Sure.
And I had a firearm with me, and then there was a policeman in front of me, and what do they call it? Correctional services officer. They were bringing a prisoner, so I don't know why didn't they enter at the basement, but they entered at the main court.
Sure.
So the police and correctional services will flash their IDs, so they are officials. And as I came through, they stopped me because I wanted to see what was going on.
Ah, yes.
And so they stopped me. They're like, where's your ID? I said, no, I've got a firearm license. They're like, not in this. As you say, it's a zone-free.
It's a firearm
firearm zone. Yeah, free zone. Now, even correctional services, I learned something that time. Even correctional services officials, when they are at prisons, do you know that their firearms are not loaded? The magazine must be separate from the firearm in case they get attacked by the prisoners and robbed.
Yes.
So it must not be easy, assuming they are trained to can load it quick and react. You understand? But with the Cape Town Wynberg Magistrate Court, Fresh, you know, it also exposes the securities and justice system of the country, because courts fall under the justice system, even if they belong to public works.
Yes.
But the Department of Justice is supposed to make sure that the safety, as you correctly said, of the prosecutors, the witnesses, and especially Wynberg.
Sure.
You know, with all the crime, most of Wynberg Magistrate Court is in Cape Town, what Randburg is for Gauteng.
Absolutely.
You understand?
So you're dealing with gang violence.
Gang fires, yes.
Taxi violence.
Yes.
And I mean, it's bad enough that area on the planet is one of the most violent.
Yes. Now, you know, if it was on the ground floor and a person ran out, you understand?
Yes.
On the fourth floor of the building, whether the person used the stairs or the elevator, where were the security at the door, the police, and after the shooting, where was the reaction of South African police services inside the court? Because you always have court officials or marshals as policemen in uniform. But especially for that high caliber case, this man's life was attempted to, at some stage outside that court, the same court, months back. There was attempt on his life several times.
Sure.
And even the family was saying they were very afraid of that day, because the last time there was an attempt on his life, it was outside that Wynberg Magistrate Court. But it shows the lapse of security. And ironically, this happens during the a week of the South African Police Services, the presidency and other intelligence and municipal forces are having a summit on crime. Understand? Right on their faces. And where is the summit on crime in South Africa? It is being held in Cape Town. Understand? So few hundred, meters or maybe few kilometers away from the Wynberg Magistrate Court, the police are sitting there. Even the president addressed that conference about crime in the country.
Shouldn't a courthouse have a metal detector?
All courthouses, the same as, it's a national key point. A courthouse is a national key point.
So
they have
why-
not only metal detectors, they even have surveillance and recording cameras outside the building.
Yes.
That's why they can go back on records and see which cars were parked on the street of the court at the back. If you go to buildings of courts, they've got cameras, they've got metal detectors on, and these metal detectors, they're not only the main entrance. On every floor, like if you take an elevator from the ground floor to the sixth floor of the labor court, when you arrive at the sixth floor, there's also another metal detector with security cards.
Yeah, every floor that you enter should have a metal detector.
Exactly.
Because you could pick up a firearm or any other weapon between floors.
Exactly.
Or it could be stashed in the
It
elevator.
could be stashed somewhere, yes.
Yes.
But the problem is we are now being told by government that both the surveillance cameras and the metal detectors were dysfunctional.
But
when
why,
this incident happened.
why are they allowed to be dysfunctional even for 1 hour in a building such as that one, though?
And normally people who have done security, studies, they will tell you that even if they are dysfunctional for that moment, that 1 hour, that 30 minutes, there should be backup.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
Physical search and things like that.
That's what I'm saying, that it should not even be allowed to. You can't say the system was down in a building such as that one.
Fresh.
I worked at the SABC for about 15 years almost. The cameras were always on. The metal detector always worked.
Yes.
And your bag went through that X-ray machine.
Exactly.
There's not one day that system was down. How is it down at a courthouse?
And you will say it's conspiracy theory from my side. I would say
maybe it was convenient
it was
on the
convenient
day
on the
for the
day.
assassin.
Look, these things is well planned. Tato, whether the judiciary or the justice system or the Ministry of Justice or whoever in the police, whether they don't like it or not, there's always buying. There's always a price of these people's hands. There is no way that a key witness on a murder case that there's been an attempt on his life, there was no extra security provided in this instance. There is just no way. You understand? I mean, government provide extra security on even civil matters. If somebody's life is threatened, let's say you're going through divorce, it's a civil matter, and one of the spouses or partners says, I think my spouse wants to kill him. I'm afraid the state will provide security. That when the days you come to court,
absolutely,
you are secured. You will probably drive from your house to police station. The police will drive with you to
So if you were going through your fourth divorce and she wanted you dead, they can provide you security.
Which one will be wanting me dead? because maybe the first one will be happy I'm divorcing the fourth one. So it's a sad state. Let me make an example. When I say when there's a will of politicians and security personnel, Minister of Police and Justice, in this instance, both the ministers, I've got a civil matter.
Sure.
That has, how do I call it? That is drawing public attention because of the monies and corruption involved. My labor matter.
Yes.
It's so serious that I'm actually fearing for my life. I've told you several times.
Yes.
And it's taking 10. Right now, the court has decided that my matter will not be heard at the normal labor court. It's going to be heard on site. Another side, they've provided a site.
Yes.
Those are precautionary measures because I've brought to the attention of the court my concerns. Files gets lost, gets messed up with. Now, if people can access my labor matter file, what about my own life? So my matter is going to be heard on a different site.
Sure.
Now, if the government is capable of doing that on a civil matter, labor issues are civil matter, why wouldn't they do it on a criminal matter that involves taxi people? And talking of that, I sat down and I followed the police summit. I wanted to figure out what was going to come out of this summit.
Yeah, because it's the first ever national
Yes.
police and crime summit.
Yes, with all role players, whether it's traffic police, municipal police, and all that, sitting there, all the top brass of the law enforcement were there, obviously excluding the army because the army is not regarded as a security, domestically. But what I'm sitting at, do summit. Last night I had a very lengthy discussion. I was telling Trevor that, talking politics before bed is very bad because then you won't sleep properly after. I was talking about if these summits help Tato. Do they help? And somebody said to me yesterday, they bring awareness. They make those in government to know what the people are feeling, whether it's summit for gender-based violence, whether it's crime in the country, whether it's employment, economy, and all that. I've got a different opinion. And people say I'm being harsh. Like last week, somebody said on the comments, for the first time you stood your ground against Tato because we differed on whether I'm harsh towards the government or not. When I said they should, somebody was like, "Oh, so you guys can differ and you actually left that matter without knowing who agrees with what." And I said, I don't think the summits help the country. I'll tell you why. They maybe bring awareness, but when you decide to go on a summit or a conference, you do so in order. Let's say it's for crime or rape, the rape crime. You want to reduce that. We have had summits on various things, or summits on various aspects in the country for the last, let's say, 25 years, not 30. Have they achieved an intended objective? My answer is no. If our rate we had summit for education, dropouts are more, failures are more. We had summit for gender-based violence, it has gotten worse. For murder in the country, it has gotten worse. For security, it has become worse. Now, I'm saying, I'm very practical and I want to see the results. What are there, if we go and have a summit on murder in South Africa, 15 years back, after 15 years, our murder rates or numbers have doubled. Did that summit become successful? My answer is no.
What if I argue that had there not been the summit, the current figures would be double?
It could be. It could be. It could be worse than it is. But have they reduced the purpose of having a plan and a framework?
Sure.
One is awareness, to make both parties aware, the state and the victims. Secondly is to bring deterrent measures, that people should not do it. I come from the transport sector. Let me tell you, for example, we are the world leading country on road fatalities. We have some of the best roads in the world. By the way, contrary to popular beliefs, South Africa has national roads. I'm talking about national roads.
Yeah.
Our N1s.
I realized that when I was in Toronto, Canada.
Yes.
My friend picked me up from the airport in Toronto.
Yes, yes.
And driving from the airport to downtown Toronto, where I was staying, I was like, my guy, your roads are horrible.
I realized this 25 years when I arrived in Europe.
Yeah.
Driving from Frankfurt airport to the hotel, which is very short distance.
Sure.
I'm like, where's the Autobahn? You understand? We have some of the best roads. At some stage, South Africa was number 2 in the world. At some stage, after Australia.
Sure.
On good roads. And people will say, but what is Botsang talking about? I'm talking about the national roads. Now, with all that, we are leading the world in carnages. Why? Reckless driving, drinking, driving, not resting. You understand? It's
because there are
lawlessness.
no consequences.
Because there are no consequences. And I'm saying this summit, if they were coming with recommendations to lawmakers to make the law to be more punitive.
Sure.
You drink and drive, you kill a person, your license gets suspended. Maybe you get sentenced to jail. Because it's culpable homicide, you get sentenced to jail for 3 years. You come back after a year and a half, you get your driver's license back, you are back on the road.
I'm yet to see someone who is a drunk driver that killed someone outside of the Jub case.
Yes.
Because the minute you're drinking and then you get into your car, you know what you might do.
Yes.
That should be murder.
It should be murder. It should be murder. But also, you look at our punitive measures in the country.
Yeah.
If you killed a person with a vehicle because you were drunk and you drove over a child or a pedestrian who was not wrong in this instance, then you get sentenced to what? As you said, there's probably 1 or 2 cases. And then somebody steps another one after drinking at a shebeen.
Sure.
You step somebody with a knife, you get sentenced to 12 years in prison for murder. But you ride or you drive over somebody while you are drunk. So the murder weapon,
Sure.
this side was a knife. This side, it's a vehicle. But the sentence is not the same. It doesn't matter to me.
And the
you
minute
have killed a person.
And the minute you step into the vehicle, every single car or person you pass are at your mercy.
Exactly. Even yourself, your kids, and anybody else.
And at the mercy of inebriation.
Exactly.
That should make it a bigger offense than a drunk person stabbing someone else.
For me, these summits, and I will tell the police commissioners and top brass to say, sitting in air-conditioned offices, they should have actually held that summit in Langa, on an open next year Shebin, and see how people conduct themselves and go them. We must influence. We are administrators in government. We must influence the lawmakers. That, for me, I'll hammer on this matter for the duration of this platform. If the lawmakers do not make laws that will deter people from committing crimes, we will not go anywhere as a nation.
Sure.
We will not. Rape, yes, when I checked, if it's first-time offense and it was only rape, that is called sexual assault, carries a 7-year sentence, 3.5. The victim.
That's ridiculous.
The victim is damaged for life, trauma, maybe even infections and diseases. Maybe they can't even have kids anymore. Whatever. For life, the life of the victim is completely destroyed. Where now you go to jail for 3 years and then you come back. And I have a problem with the justice system. And I say, perpetrators are very comfortable in South Africa. Very.
What do you say to people who say the other problem is you go to jail and you're guaranteed 3 meals a day? That there are flat screen TVs.
And you can watch Orlando Pirates.
You can even demand laptops if you want.
Yeah, you can even
what do you say to people who say, if we turned our prisons into places where you don't want to go to, or we had hard labor camps like the Russians do,
yes.
that maybe people wouldn't think I'm going to jail Maraki Grande because I will be able to sneak in a phone.
Yeah.
My girlfriend can come in for conjugals if I know the right prison warder.
Yes, exactly. Well, again, what informs the prison correctional services, how prisoners are treated, is the law, is the constitution, it's human rights. That's the problem. That's what we must deal with. The Minister of Correctional Services and his or her commissioners and officials, they can't do anything outside the legal parameters.
So that's the mercy of the Constitution.
They are at the mercy of the Constitution. And that's why I sometimes...
But do we agree then that maybe the Constitution is protecting even those that...
Criminals.
Well, criminals. For
Criminals,
I mean,
yes.
Because if you've proven yourself to be a misfit and should not be living amongst us...
The society, yeah.
Why should you live better than the people that you've left outside?
Last week, me and you, we spoke about the Omotoso's case.
Yes.
And I said, I've got a problem with the law of the country that puts me on an equal right with a criminal, a proven criminal. I'm not talking about Omotos, a proven criminal. A person that the court has declared, they already have a lot of rights, nutrition, health, education, security. They have those rights, understand? They don't just eat 3 meals a day, they eat nutritional meals, balanced diet. Actually, a prisoner who has diabetes. A prisoner who has diabetes is in a better position than my aunt who has diabetes sitting at home and unemployed.
Sure.
Because sometimes when my aunt goes to the municipal clinic, there's no drugs.
Maybe she must steal 10 Panados and then they can send her to prison
Then they can send her
meals.
to prison. Exactly. Then she will have 3 nutritious meals. She'll get proper treatment. And there are criminals who do that.
Sure.
Who says, I'm suffering outside. I would rather commit a small crime. I know I'm guaranteed. Or I'm running even away from hardcore criminals. I've sold their drugs. To run away, let me go into prison.
Sure.
Join another gang in prison that will protect me. Because when we run into prison, there's gangs there. And this is the situation we are living in. And if the authorities are not waking up now, I've said before, the people will take the law into their hands. And the situation will be out of hand. People who have been in prison, they will tell you that actually prison is another world. You know, there's a president there, there's ministers, there's who governs, who determines who gets the bursary, and not officials, prisoners. But this summit, I don't say people must not sit in summits and conferences and workshops and make decisions. If you make them, and what happens to that report, those recommendations,
Sure.
you know, what happens to them? See to it. There must be consequences for committing that. See to it that your minister takes that into parliament. And Tato, I've worked in various government projects. One of them from 2013 to 2020, I was in the Border Management Authority formation, full 7 years. We saw to it. The leadership of the Department of Home Affairs will take the team to go and address MPs, because we're a team from different government departments.
Sure.
We'll go and address MPs and explain to them I will explain from the transport side. Somebody will explain from the legal side. Somebody from the police, to say to these MPs. And this is how things should be done. Because experts are advising MPs. Those MPs come from different portfolios of government. Now they are listening to experts from their own department. It was easy for 22 officials to address Parliament instead of the DG of Home Affairs, to address Parliament and say, this is important. That's why the Border Management Authority, it took long, but it became one of the successful projects of South Africa. It's still new, but the way it was established, and we have started seeing paradigm shift due to the work they are doing. If we don't do that, we let the Minister of Police to go and address his colleagues in Parliament to say, we had this summit, here's the report. They're like, oh, it was a good report, good summit. What happens after? I told you that I don't believe in capital punishment, but I believe in harsher sentences for criminals, depending on the nature of crime. And let's stop giving them vegetables and fruits, man. Let's feed them. They must not die.
Or throw a goat in there. That's your lunch for the week, guys.
A goat is even nicer because they will kill it with their bare hands. You must throw in a crocodile in prison. They must kill it and feed themselves.
It's white meat. It's healthy, actually.
Yeah, but they must first kill it. You understand? Maybe it will eat 2 of them. It's okay. We remove them. That I've used the apartheid word.
But you're going back to capital punishment.
It's okay. It's not capital because they must fight. Now they've got their match. You are not hanging them. You are not shooting them. You understand? Make life a living hell for them so that people must know that when I'm in prison, when I rape, when I murder, it's bad.
I know some states in the US even have chain gangs. That if you're in prison, you're doing hard labor. Every day you're put in a truck, you're going to dig up trees and trenches.
And graves and whatever.
But they're spa now.
It works. I mean, when I was stationed in Brazil, I used to do a lot of prison visits for drug dealers. South African drug traffickers, mules, were the largest in Brazil. I
think the Sao Paulo flight didn't help. In fact, we went to Miami in 2002 or 3. There was a whole bunch of us. I'm not going to name names. But one of us was taken into a room for a cavity search. Because we flew from SA to Sao Paulo to Miami.
That's the route.
So Miami, one of the DJs was pulled into a little room and had to strip down. So, like I said, that flight, I'm telling you, if you go to prisons there, for example, and people say it's inhuman, it's okay. These are not normal human beings in my books. And I liked it because my then minister, Dr. Nkosana Dlamini Zuma, used to support that. You know that in Brazilian prisons, especially hardcore, you don't even get a mattress. You know that? Your family or your friends must bring you a mattress. Hey, they must look after you.
You must look after you, not the state. Sometimes when your family brings you a mattress, other prisoners take your mattress. You will still sleep on the floor. Will you want to go back to prison after that? You know, I've had horrible cases of rape. For example, in Brazil, you rape a human being, a woman. The population ratio in Brazil is 7-1. Then, I don't know now, 7 women to 1 man. You rape, you get into prison. My brother, they will castrate you. They will even ask you, how do you rape when there's 6 women available?
Exactly.
How do you end up raping? Can't you say, I love you even if you lie to one?
Even Botsang fell in love with one. Like, guys.
A foreign me. Now you just told the viewers I nearly married a Brazilian. By the way, that's the mother of Botsang Jr.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Botsang Jr. is a very talented soccer player, by the way. So look out for the name. One day you'll see a Botsang in a
squad.
In a European team somewhere.
Oh, yes.
It's his son.
Very soon, that one.
Absolutely.
My brother,
In fact, one of the other big stories this week was Police Minister Senzo Mchunu last week quietly drafting proposed amendments to the Private Security Industry Regulation Act without consulting them. Basically, the argument here is some of the high caliber firearms security companies use, the minister is arguing they shouldn't have access to.
They shouldn't have access to it. And handcuffs are now going to be like, no, but 2 weeks back, I don't know how did you mean, I sent you that article. A video of a lawyer explaining this, to say this thing is coming. I sent it to you to say, hey, did you see this? Because it's impacting on our private lives.
Absolutely.
As well as security in our homes. But Tato, I don't know who informs or advises ministers. On a serious note, this is very serious. We are a high crime country, all sorts of crime.
Sure.
We are unsafe in our cars, our houses. We are unsafe even in courts now. We just spoke about the court. Now you want to tell us that the security companies that have helped the police to contain crime, what have they done?
And in fact, in a normal society, you should not even be having to pay private security because everything is okay.
Because everything is okay.
You shouldn't be having to pay for private schooling, private medical aid. You shouldn't be having to pay for private security.
Fine, we're an abnormal society, but look at police stations. The police station in my hometown, Randfontein, that one that's dealing with gold, that was mentioned in the gold Zamazamas.
Yes.
The police station there, it's guarded by a private security company.
Yeah.
Police station.
Yeah.
So are the police saying their own officials are scared? They are in the police station, they get robbed, they get, disarmed by criminals. Now they want to tell me that whether it's called ADT or MonitorNet or G4S that is guiding the community have organized themselves. And look at the murders of criminals or the killing of police. Policemen in South Africa, or right or wrong, they have killed more people than criminals, more than security guard companies. Most of the time, security guard companies, they tend to arrest these people and call the police to take over from the crime scene. That's what it happens. But to restrict them, let's think of the cash
CIT.
cash in transit
Yeah.
vehicles. They have never been attacked with 9mm pistols.
It's always with high caliber.
It's always high caliber pistols, guns and machine guns, actually automatic rifles. Now, these companies already, they are under restrictions that they can't have automatic rifles.
Sure.
In South Africa, you can't have a private license for an automatic rifle. It's a semi-automatic. They are already compromised to carry semi-automatic rifles to fight criminals who are having Kalashnikovs. For those who don't know, Kalashnikov is what they call AK-47. Now you want to take that away from them. Now you are saying these security companies must have permits to can carry handcuffs because handcuffs can be used as a weapon. I've used handcuffs as a weapon. I know they can. I've beaten up police with handcuffs. You understand? So it can, and it's a very dangerous weapon.
So does this mean we have to hand in our pair of pink handcuffs that we use at home? Or those are safe?
I've never used those ones. I don't know how they work.
They work.
Tata, you guys, you experience things. You know this. I will never allow anybody under the sun to. It's a choke. I've been handcuffed twice in my life, and it's very.
So it's a trauma for you.
It's trauma for me.
So it can never be foreplay.
I will never be handcuffed, whatever that is. But I think this bill will not pass. I'll tell you something. Majority of firearm owners and security companies.
But I love how the minister says, "Yeah, that's what I wanted, for there to be a debate." But you can't jump and.
You must have a debate first. Public consultations. Have a debate first. Hear what's the people's views.
Because he's pulling a Trump. When Trump reversed these tariffs, it's like, yeah, that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Now they're all lining up to talk to us. No, dude.
No.
You must admit you were wrong.
The minister is very wrong, and the advisors, the drafters of that policy. Actually, I'm more concerned not about the minister, because the minister wants to shine and be in the public. I'm concerned about the officials and legal minds that drafted that. A proposed amendment of the Firearm Control Act, you understand? They sat down, the people in South Africa, including me, who is permanently armed, even with pit bulls. I trust more the security companies in my community and residential area than the South African police services. For two reasons. One, loyalty. Two, competency. Trust me, I've seen, when you go to a shooting range, you will see the training, vigorous training that these security people go. They go through combat training. Our police force, they don't go through combat training. You must look at your security companies. You don't find many of them with a belly of my size because they are fit. They are trained for combat. I trust that person more with a firearm than a police person. With no disrespect to the police, but I'm talking reality.
But also, I am paying you, so I expect you to be properly armed.
Yes. So the people have used their monies, hard-earned monies, the little they have, to up their security, and because the police and the government has failed the people. Now the government wants to come and say, "Hey man, you are too armed, you are too secured. We want to restrict this." What nonsense is that? Or do they care? They're actually supposed to be working and helping this community safety services to work more with them than to disarm them. I always feel sorry for the cash in transit vehicles and victims. Majority of them are African people.
Sure.
Some of them get killed during the cash in transit. Now you want to even lower their armaments, but on top of that, you'll find police guarding the president and vehicles with 7 vehicles with R5s and R4s to make sure that one person's life is important. You don't care about the majority. This thing of, he's the head of state, he's the minister. So is the life of Botsang less important than that of the president? Why? Life is life for me. And I think the minister missed the point. I think those who love security, I circulated that bill and that video.
Yes.
And I said to people, even if you don't own a firearm, just know that this is coming to your doorstep.
Sure.
This is coming to you. We already have restrictions of carrying firearms, using firearms. Now the state wants to take that away from us. You know what it's going to do? It is going to make people to actually carry illegal firearms. Like you remember a few years back when one minister changed the law of private firearms to say if you didn't renew on time, you must hand over your firearm
yes, I remember.
and all those things. People were actually sitting with illegal firearms. They said, I'm not going to hand over my firearm to the police station where it may be stolen while I'm waiting for my license. It took me over a year for me to receive my renewal license. And for that year, I didn't have a firearm. So I stopped going out because I felt naked to leave my house unarmed.
Sure.
It's going to lead people to do that. We are actually trying to resolve problems, but we are creating more problems. And for me, that's a challenge. We must train the police, make sure policemen don't lose guns.
Remember the other day we spoke about the limitations of gun owners in terms of how and when you can use a firearm.
Yes.
We spoke about it on the show.
Yes.
Also discussed it with Sydney Matlaku when we were talking gun ownership. And someone sent me a story on Facebook about a guy who says he's got his firearm, but he also has a non-registered firearm, so that if anyone is on his property, he can deal with him and plant that firearm on him.
This country.
I was like, what?
I've known those stories and that style for many years. Many people do that.
So it's a thing?
It's a thing. Many people do that. You must have that illegal one and the registered one. You blow his head off, and you take the illegal one, you plant it on his hand, and he said he was trying to shoot me. Here's the gun, and it's the gun that is. Many people do that. Many. Understand? It's.
I'm asleep, Mus.
No, because of the restrictions that we have regarding the use of firearms. You understand? I mean, 2 days ago, one of my cousins writes to me and said he thinks he's ready to own a firearm. Which one am I recommending? I'm like, hey, you know what? My recommendation is stay away from that thing. You are looking for more stress. You understand? That is so. I said he must come to me this weekend. I want to show him the pros and the cons. It's not like you've got a clean criminal record. Actually, owning a firearm, you are actually a risk to yourself.
In fact, I would argue if you are thinking of arming yourself, rather find a firearm instructor that can take you through the paces of, one, using it.
Yeah.
The safety, the consequences, the risks, everything. Make an informed decision having shot a firearm.
Yes.
Having seen what that bullet does to just a watermelon. Just a watermelon.
Yeah,
so make an informed decision. Don't call Botsang and say, what should I get? Go to the range with someone who's qualified to train you, so you make a fully informed decision.
And look, I'm one of the people who's pro people not arming themselves, but knowing. Arm yourself with the knowledge. Know the dangers, the pros and the cons. I told you before, my youngest daughter is 8. I take my daughter to the shooting range. Understand? To know the dangers of the firearm being around, that you don't touch this thing. It's very dangerous because they've seen the dangers. But you know, Tato, it's again the society we live in. If we're living in a normal country like Botswana, we wouldn't be going through this. We wouldn't be having this discussion. Now, women are afraid of rape. I always look at women who work at restaurants, for example. They knock off at 2 a.m. or pubs or clubs. And then the next thing, if they arrive in their apartments or house or what, there's some idiot called Botsang who's waiting to can assault this woman. Women are thinking of pepper sprays don't work anymore. You know, I know women who carry knives, you know, and it's how the society is unsafe.
But I'm happy at how many women I'm seeing at the shooting range.
Yes, the numbers.
In fact, not just women, how many black women I am seeing at the shooting range.
Then the numbers are increasing.
It's sad that we are there, but I'm happy that they're making that decision, that choice.
Exactly.
That I will protect myself.
Exactly.
Guys, we're in the recording here. You guys are walking up and down like you're in a horror movie. Just keep it down, please. Thank you.
Anyway, yes,
Yeah.
Tato.
And please don't edit that out.
Yo,
Thanks.
this is gonna be week by week. You know, Tato scared people on the show the other day when you were angry with the people making noise, and somebody said to me, "Can he get that angry forever?" I'm like, "Yo, you guys, you don't know this guy doesn't take nonsense."
No, I'm actually a very patient guy, but also let's do things the right way.
Yes, brother. Man.
Anyway, let's move on. The GNU is still making headlines.
It will make headlines forever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm practicing. Is my voice okay, Trevor? They told me I must start practicing the radio voice. So
No,
I'm
you
going
don't-
through voice training.
You don't need a radio voice. You're perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously the budget vote happened,
Yes.
and the DA were not a part of it. But the ANC made a plan and decided that we're playing in chess here, Mus. We'll make a plan. And now there's been like back and forth regarding whether the GNU is in trouble. Where Fikile Mbalula is also going off about how if we need to control alt delete, we will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Tato, we spoke about it prior. We actually predicted what was going to happen. I don't think the GNU is in trouble. The captains of the industry, the owners of the land, the parliament or the cabinet actually in Stellenbosch, led by Busa Business Unity South Africa, they have instructed the two boys, messengers, Steenhuisen and Ramaphosa. One, behave. Two, sit down in a boardroom, box each other, dust yourself and talk and go back to the GNU, because without the ANC and the DA, the owners of capital in South Africa, those who own over 80% of the land, the business people are uncomfortable without these two. Therefore, in my prediction and words, nothing will happen, Tato. I can tell you that, and I've said it to a lot of ANC guys who don't like me for that, the ANC is not capable of dismissing the DA out of cabinet. We have heard Deputy President Mashatile saying, but even President Ramaphosa, they've talked themselves and conducted themselves outside the GNU. That's the first thing. Steenhuisen on the other side sits and say, yeah, but it was not only about VAT only. You remember I said it. It's not about VAT. VAT is minor there. It is about other things that the DA wanted. They wanted the Bella bill to be reversed and all that. But something very interesting that happened, and you know, my family and friends in the ANC are not going to like this. The ANC is accusing the Democratic Alliance, and this is critical for me, Fresh. They've accused the Democratic Alliance for behaving and or conducting themselves outside the GNU. I'm not the kind that will speak on behalf of the DA, you know, but if I become impartial and balanced, I would say, who actually misbehaved first outside the GNU? Let's look at the facts. Forget the lily white blue DA and the black pitch black green ANC. The ANC misbehaved first, Tato. If we look at it factually, the DA voted against the fiscal policy in Parliament. Who went out of the DA first, out of the GNU first, to go and consult with other parties that are non-GNU members? Who did that first? The ANC were the first, actually. I'm not talking on behalf of the DA. I'm giving a balanced analysis. The ANC, when they realized that they are not reaching an agreement with the Democratic Alliance, they went to consult BOSA as well as Action SA. They are the ones who actually went outside the GNU to talk to non-members. And due to the vote of the non-members, they managed to overcome the votes or the decision of the DA.
Do you feel it's a betrayal of our agreement that when it suits you, you can go outside of our agreement and make deals with other people? Or should it be fair game?
Look, I think it should be a fair game because that agreement doesn't hold water. The GNU agreement has no legal standing. I've said it several times. So it's a fair game to say when we can reach a decision, we'll go in and pull aces. We'll go and play a chess game.
So if you deny me my conjugals, there's other fish in the sea.
That's exactly the point. We are in bed and you are denying me my conjugal rights. I'll go, there's what do they call, there's brothels there and there's small houses next door. And the ANC used that analogy.
What do you say to people who argue that, though, the ANC are behaving like it's their party versus we have all regazetile to throw a party here? So there's no Moreki, there is no deputy Moreki, there is no one who should be bigger than the other. But
I agree with the people who say the ANC is behaving like that.
Yeah.
But why shouldn't the ANC behave like that? Because when the GNU started after the 2024 elections, who went to knock at the doors of other political parties? It was the ANC. You understand? They wanted to remain. They moved smarter. They moved faster than others. They didn't wait for EFF, MK, and others to group with the DA and form a government.
Sure.
They had an option to form a minority government that is provided for in the constitution. The GNU is unconstitutional. That's why it doesn't hold water. That's why it's illegal. So what did the ANC do? They moved first. They approached all these other parties. They are also the majority. They've got almost 40% of the electorate. You understand? Or of the National Assembly. They've got 40% of that. So they moved and they knocked at everybody's door to say, I want to marry you, I want to marry you. Understand? Or do you want to be my stepchild? Now the ANC is sitting down. They have actually won that battle, fair and square. If you look at it, the ANC, they've lost the election, but they won at the negotiation table. Now they are using the experience and a chessboard game to say, it does not mean when Action SA and BOSA are not in the GNU or even the EFF, I cannot talk to them. I can substitute who I want to sleep with. You understand? And they're showing the DA that. They say, I've had you for 9 months. I'm enough of you and I'm getting irritated of you. I'll try and get 2 young little ones that I can afford because you are becoming a burden. And that's the nature of politics. I'm trying to simplify.
Is that politics or relationships?
I'm trying to simplify it that when you've got an expensive wife who drives a Range Rover or a Jeep for that matter, but it's giving you stress. You can go and get 2 girlfriends, one who's using a taxi, another one, I don't say people must do that, another one who's got a Polo that's cheaper than a Range Rover. And then you're okay. They don't give you a headache. Your only headache is that you've got 2. The headache of the ANC now is that if the GA moves out and BOSA and Action SA comes in, they must give them positions. But trust me, and I can put my head on the block, the DA, as much as the ANC is not capable of firing them, the DA is not capable of leaving the GNU, especially the executive authority, the cabinet. What will they do? Are they going to be the official opposition?
In fact, speaking of Action SA, Herman Mashaba said that Action SA would not consider joining the GNU until the VAT hike was withdrawn.
Yes.
Do you think they've been misled about this VAT hike being withdrawn?
They were played.
That's what I'm saying. That I don't think Brahemen... I think Brahemen is showing his inexperience politically.
Yes, it's inexperience. But let me tell you what he banked on.
Yeah.
He banked on honor and integrity. And there's no honor and integrity in politics. He banked people. You see, what was voted for in Parliament last week, it was the fiscal policy general. Now, what normally after that kind of voting, what will happen is there's 3 spheres of the treasury.
Sure.
You must now go and take this framework and say how much we are giving to municipalities and distribution, how much we are going to raise with SARS and other revenue sources, and the other one, what can we play? So they are banking on all these things. There's a provision that in 30 days, the officials of the treasury, the officials in the treasury, they have 30 days from the vote to can now pass some of those processes.
And there's no way you can reverse things this late in the game.
No.
So what Action SA think is possible is not going to happen. It can't happen.
It's impossible. It will not happen. This thing has gone through.
And my understanding is Action SA were brought in because we need someone to help us vote through this thing,
Yes,
which includes the VAT hike.
Yes. So they were played the game. The only time the state is capable of revisiting the VAT is the next year budget vote.
Absolutely. That's my understanding.
For the moment, Action SA must swallow
the ball
their
is in
pride.
play. The ball is in play.
Now it's how it's going to be done. Now it's how on the 24th of this month, Parliament is going to sit again to now vote for the operational of the fiscal policy.
Yes.
What goes where, who uses what, who pays how much. Our banks, our authorities, my bank, I've got a bank account these days. They've already sent me a message to say
about
from the 1st
VAT
of May
hike.
about the VAT hike.
Yes.
There is no turning back. And I can tell you, it's too late for the Democratic Alliance as well as the Action SA. They must now look. Now we are in a phase where political parties are repositioning themselves. The ANC is going to extend an olive branch to the Action SA. That I can tell you. So Norman, come. We may give you an ambassadorial or a DG post or some HOD's post.
Yeah, Vawilo Obaisa hair food you call Washington.
Never in Washington. The same way as they've done with what is this other party of Zongizi, Rise Mzansi.
Or Rise.
He is the chairperson of SCOPA, which is a very nice, beautiful position. And I think the guy fits very well there.
And I was going to say, Songezo is perfectly positioned.
He's perfectly positioned there. So the ANC will give those olive branch. Maybe they can make Musi Maimane the chief chaplain of the defense force or an ambassador somewhere, come in. And once they're in, these two, the DA is in much more serious trouble.
Sure.
The DA has made a decision during the course of the week. You see what they do? The DA waits for the ANC to meet on Tuesday night. Then they meet on Wednesday. Then the ANC meets on Thursday. Then the DA said we'll meet on Saturday. So they're playing that game.
Yeah, but just the other day, DA leader Steenhuisen arrogantly said because the GNU might be in trouble, the JSE lost R1 trillion. Almost conveniently forgetting that the world is dealing with bigger things than the GNU.
But it's misplaced. You see, that's another problem. You've got a minister who is metric only, and he wants to comment on geopolitics and geoeconomics. It doesn't work like that. This thing of $3 trillion loss at the JSE has happened in all countries, including the US. It has nothing to do with the trouble of the GNU.
Maybe Steenhuisen thinks that the GNU affected stock markets across the world.
But again, remember what they sold to the people in this country when the GNU was formed.
Yeah.
They sold the people the markets, the markets, the markets instability.
Yeah.
And the people bought. I even see Tato, educated ANC members and leaders and whatever, talking about the markets. Whose market? Whose market? Whose economy are we benefiting from those markets and the economy? I'm talking about normal majority South African citizens. Do they impact on us? And people say, yes, job losses. Jobs are being lost in this country without the markets being regulated. So this whole thing is about profit. Then comes Mr. Fikile Mbalula, as always, in one press conference, says two contradictory statements. Very in the same. I sometimes think the ANC does it purposefully afresh. For Mbalula to go and say something going extreme right, then he says something going extreme left in the same press conference. I think, Kokasi, they say, Kikabo Humu these days, because you can't prepare for a press conference for a day or two, and after that you contradict yourself on the same platform. They are making noise, they are howling. The DA can go, they can go to hell. The DA says, we leave the GNU. Hey guys, this is not going to happen. It's not. The DA is not going to leave the GNU. The gravy, the soup is thicker. The packs of ministers, they are now will have to implement this fiscal policy.
So
have to.
So the grass is greener on the other side, not because of the manure, because of the gravy.
Yes, the gravy is thicker. So they are not going. And this thing of for the people, vet for the people, for which people? Do you think the DA is caring about the people in the squatter camp in Langa? They don't give a damn. So there's nothing about the people. Mbalula has come
Yeah,
out
but
clear.
it's campaign season, so I mean we have to take it from where it comes.
Yeah, but people should now learn and know that when politicians talk, they don't talk because they care for you.
Forked tongues.
Yes, understand? So let's forget that the GNU will collapse when the DA leaves. If the DA leaves, the GNU may be a better place. But again, you have parties like the EFF and Umkhonto weSizwe that are standing there and they are waiting for their number one enemy of the DA to leave the GNU so that they can step in there. The ANC is not going to take that risk. The ANC is not going to risk and replace DA with MK or EFF. It will not do that because they will topple them out of power. The other risk is Tato. We should remember the reason the ANC will want the DA to remain in cabinet or in government. It is things like the Pala issue,
Sure.
the Zondo Commission report, very, very big things that will put ANC top leaders in jail. And as I said, they've been making allegations about the deputy president. The president has the Pala issue. The ANC leaders, 90% of the people who are implicated in the Zondo Commission are ANC leaders and members. And the DA is having that trump card to say, if we are out, we'll table this. Umkhonto weSizwe as well as EFF will support, and Freedom Front will support that. So the ANC is not going to play that risk. They are not going to risk going to jail or being prosecuted, especially the likes of Batoyi, Shamila Batoyi, the DG of NPA. Is still holding on to the Zondo Commission report. So the ANC, they deployed Batoyi there. They did it strategically so that Batoyi must not go and enforce and implement what they are supposed to be implementing. So it's to guard comrades. Nobody must go to jail. People do wrong things, maladministration, a lot of corruption. They are guarding each other. For as long as the stakes are 40%, the DA still has over 20%, we will not see any significant change in the move of things in the country. I know some people have confidence in the GNU. They say things are better. I've questioned it last week. What is better? For me, if it's not tangible, there's nothing better. The language is peaceful, it's negotiations, it's engagement, it's a better language. But what is happening on the ground?
I would rather have a good energy and vibe happening, this competitiveness that are happening, in the hope that if we don't see immediate results, that we will see results maybe year on year or parliament on parliament. I'd rather take that risk than say the GNU is not working.
I would rather have a Trump version. Collapse everything. You start afresh.
So scorch the earth.
Yeah.
If they die, they die.
If they die, they die.
Wow.
You are talking about this energy of talking, negotiations, engaging. There's decorum, as people say. There's diplomacy. There's engagement. There's decorum. I'm saying it will not bear fruit. You are prepared to take the risk to say maybe in a year or two it will bear the fruits. I am saying it will not because fresh. It is the same bunch of people, same bunch of political parties that for at least the last 20 years or 15 to 20 years have been there. Why are we expecting that the same people who have messed up the country, I don't talk about the ANC, I'm talking about all these political parties, have been there for the last 15 to 20 years, doing the same thing, messing us up, lying to the people. We are going through the cycles. We are going around the cycles. You understand? And we're expecting the same people to sit and come and we say, hi, maybe now they are old, they will make better decisions for us and for the country. I don't think they will. I honestly don't think they will. Even if they brought young ministers, look at the ministries that the young ministers are. I'm going to mention 4 ministers who are very young, and fortunately they're black women. 5. The DA Minister of Education, she's new. Or is it basic education, isn't it? We have Mamuloko Kubai at Justice. We have Simelane at Housing. We have Nchabeni in the presidency. You understand? Who else is young? We have Stella Ndabeni at Small Business. 5 young women, very young, all of them below 50. All of them. I don't blame them as individuals. They're young black women below 50. Look at the mess of the departments. It's not they are doing. Some inherited it. Are we still expecting that these people will bring a change in what they are doing when the Minister of Basic Education is opposing the Bella Bill? The minister in the presidency wants to smoke people out of their mining chambers. And the Minister of Housing has buildings collapsing under that, and he says there's corruption in my department, there's corruption in an HBRC. What can they do? I don't expect any. I'm not negative. I'm saying, Minister, what do you call it, Nkadimeng, you know now that people at the HBRC in your department are corrupt. People died, 34 people died in the Eastern Cape. Just take 5 of them and jail them. Let's start there. Forget investigation and commissions and what. Take 5 of them and jail them because you have identified the problem. You understand? Sure. We had Mamuluku Kubai going on a road show a few weeks back and exposed corruption at one of the biggest courts of Gauteng, that court in Ekurhuleni. I forgot the name. It's one of the biggest magistrates. They were caught on camera. Police, magistrate, lawyers, taking envelopes on camera. ENCA was running that thing as a blitz. The minister was there. She saw things with her own eyes. To this day, none of those people have been locked up. Understand? Because their hands are tied by the system. By the time they arrive at the time of prosecution, it will be 17 years. We have President Jacob Zuma, 17 years, full 17 years, saying, I want my day in court. I want my day in court. 17 years he has been to the highest court of the land. Now, finally, the highest court of the land said, we are done now. There's no more way. He must now, from April, President Zuma must now go. Do you think President Zuma will be prosecuted and face jail? If I was him, I'll be sick. I'm old man, I'm 82, 83. I'll be sick every month. I'm supposed to go to jail. And the what do you call it? To court, not to jail. And the court rolls, we spoke about it the other day. 2031 is the next available date.
2 years ago, we tried to get a day in court. We only got November.
Exactly.
This coming November.
Yes.
2 years ago.
Yeah, you are lucky. It's a civil matter, on a civil matter. Yeah, on criminal matters, it's not me who's saying it. It's the judge president of the country, of Gauteng.
Sure.
7 years.
Yeah. 7
years. People will go to court for crime in 2031. President Zuma in 2031, he'll be what, almost 90? You understand? So it's a system. It's not individuals. And I always said, if the system allows me to use it, to take advantage of it, I've done it, I've told you, I've done it before.
Know the system, use the system.
Yes, you use the system. You understand? We must change the laws. We must change the system.
We must change tact right now. Let's move on. We are out of time, but let's talk.
Really? Is it more than an hour?
Almost an hour. Let's talk Trump quickly.
Yes.
Obviously, the tariffs happened. He had a whole pie chart because as a man-child, he only understands big diagrams and pictures. There were even tariffs imposed on a little island in the Pacific inhabited by only penguins because he's a man-child. He loves penguins also.
You know, this guy's gonna lose his visa. Well, now
they can take it. I'm actually fine if they cancel my visa.
I had my American visa on an official passport. And my official passport has expired. So I also don't have a visa to go to the Americas. But Tato, are we surprised?
But now he's made a U-turn.
Yes.
On all countries but China.
China, yes.
But because China on some, listen, we'll meet you where we meet you.
I think the conduct of President J. Trump is showing now that the trade war is with China. The military war is with Iran. The trade war is with China. The diplomatic and influence war is with Russia. Understand? I think Trump is smart. He knows to fight battles which battle you fight with who. You understand? China flooded the American market with Chinese products. That South Africans yesteryear, we used to call them Hong Kongs.
Yes.
And the reason, by the way, they were called Hong Kongs, which are fakes, is because we were made to believe that everything made in China is fake. And
or it's a knockoff.
Or it's a knockoff. And it came from Hong Kong because most of the time, that was when Hong Kong was still under the British rule.
Yes.
Actually, somebody told me that actually it was the Chinese who started that thing. Because that's when they were battling to have Hong Kong back as their island. So they remember when we grew up, all our toys, they were not written made in China.
Yes.
They were made in Hong Kong. Everything was Hong Kong. That's where the Hong Kong came from. But when China won that battle and had access to the Commonwealth market, they started with the Commonwealth market because Hong Kong, under the British Empire or rule, was in the Commonwealth market. So
Yes.
China became smart. They planned 50 years ahead. America plans 30 years ahead. Europe plans 20, 25 years ahead. Africa plans 5 years ahead, and they never succeed. So China outsmarted everybody. And they flooded the market with Chinese product made in China. Your iPhone is made in China.
Majority of Trump merchandise,
Yes,
including Make America Great Again, is made in China.
exactly. You
In
know,
fact, his golf shirts are made in
in
Lesotho.
Lesotho, which by the Chinese.
The Chinese.
So now it's a trade war with China.
Yeah.
I mean, that's madness. As recent as on Wednesday evening when he made a turnaround. And you know that Wednesday in the history of trade wars, the collapse of the economy, Wednesdays are very important in the
Yes.
US, what do they call it, stock markets. Because major decisions are made on Wednesdays. So that's why we had the Black Wednesday and all that. So on Wednesday, he first started by putting a tweet. He said, guys, Trump is very smart.
Do you think he's smart or he's corrupt? Because I'm telling you right now, all of his billionaire friends were aware that something was about to happen. They were alerted. They knew that it's time to buy because a decision or announcement is about to be made.
In
I
the
think he's
evening.
corrupt.
But Tato, that's what businessmen are. What is that?
No, but there are rules around what is it called? Insider trading.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but people
There's
who-
even an argument that there are people in the White House that might have made purchases or sales at Wall Street.
Yes.
Based on the information they had
They heard.
already.
But that's what business people exist for. We must always remember Trump is a businessman. He's got business all over the world. He trades in foreign currency. His children are buying cryptocurrency. Trump's
They've
children.
got their own cryptos,
Yes.
but they're in government.
in
also.
government. Yeah, I understand.
His own minister at Doge is selling vehicles
Elon
to
Musk.
the army.
Yes, you understand?
And,
Now,
and Helen Zille's son can't give free lessons in Kailicha. We're told Helen Zille's son is corrupt. Why is he giving free lessons in Kailicha?
you know what is said is some of us, I'm not a history student like
Yeah.
you, but this has happened under one of the other presidents yesterday, many years ago.
Sure.
It happened in the world, the trade war, that did not collapse the American economy permanently. Other countries suffered more than the US, and the US came up. They became world number one economy. Now it's China. The US is number two. So this war of number one and number two world economies, China is number one. It's going to impact all those that are dependent. You know what it says to me? America is actually showing the world that they are a superpower. If one president in 3 months, presses a red button and the whole country, 75 countries according to Trump, have called him and say, can we please talk? Like little kids.
But to show you what a man-child he is, the other day at the Republican dinner, he's talking about, they're all kissing my ass.
Yes.
Who speaks like that and wants to be taken seriously?
President J. Trump, he's been taken
They're lining
seriously.
up, they're kissing my ass.
Yes.
I am puckered up. There's never been an ass puckered up like mine.
You know, people say they don't like me because it looks like I like Trump. I like the way he does things.
Sure.
I like the way he does
He's
things.
decisive.
He's decisive.
And
all right.
he's guys, we might think he's dumb because but he's very calculated.
He's calculative. So on Wednesday during the day, he tweets that it's time to buy.
Yes.
Economists know. When you say it's time to buy,
Yeah.
you understand? You get buildings, properties, business cheap. In the evening, he says, I've rattled the world. They are lined up, 75 of them. Jets are facing the US Coast Atlantic. We have bought, and my colleagues and my friends, business partners, they've bought everything cheaper.
Exactly.
Cheaper.
In fact, he had I can remember he had a billionaire in the White House earlier in the week.
Yes.
Who made $2 billion
$2
that
billion,
day.
yes. In a day, $2 billion.
And then he talks about this is the American dream. For your average American, it means nothing to them.
But let me tell you, I've got a different view on that.
Yeah.
I've listened to one of the economists from one of the universities, I think it's Connecticut or what, saying, actually people do not know. Only 10% of the Americans can invest in stock markets. They've got investments and only 10%, 90%. They can now buy bread. They are worried about the bag of potatoes. They are worried about the cost of living, basic cost of living.
Exactly.
90%. Now, will this conduct of Trump make prices go high? Yes, the important stuff.
Yes.
Trump is forcing the Americans to start suing, to start farming, to start feeding themselves. Is it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing? For me, I said to somebody I had a discussion with last night, Trump is forcing people to be self-sufficient. He's forcing, in a wrong way, in a bad way. But who is going to wake up one day and determine the right way when South Africa for 22 years have been depending on Trump for PEPFAR and AIDS research project? We have been depending. Now he has forced Aaron Motsoaledi and the cabinet and the treasury to go find money and be creative. I was on recording on one of the media platforms a show that will be at this coming Sunday, tomorrow. And I said the mistake we did as Africa, particularly as South Africa being a South African, we failed to build local capacity. We failed to take advantage of AGOA and aid and all that to build local capacity. China did not fail. That's why when Trump took China to 25%, China said we'll take you to 38.
Yes.
When America went to 34, China went to 90. To say we'll impose 90% of imports from the USA. What is China importing from USA? Very little. USA imports more from China. So the Americans will be hard hit than the Chinese in this instance. So somebody says, but why would Trump want to hit his own economy, his own people? He's not doing that. His people are billionaires that propelled him to presidency.
In fact,
and they've benefited.
The only people he cares about are people that he looks up to and he says, I want to be rich like you one
Exactly.
day. Those are the only
Yes,
people he
thank
cares
you.
about.
Thank you for putting me into power. I've changed the laws. I've passed tariffs that benefited you, and I'm taking care of you. Unfortunately, my brother and the viewers, that is politics. That's how politics work.
Dude, the White House Twitter account tweeted, do not retaliate and you'll be rewarded. Can you imagine?
I mentioned it
Like, what
many
is
times.
this?
This man has been saying the same thing for 40 years. I went to look at Donald Trump videos. 40 years he has been saying the same thing. For 4 months in campaign towards the election, the man has been saying the same thing. The man is the most honest. He's the most honest president in this world.
So you're saying he's on brand, so let's not be surprised at anything he does.
Because he told us he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And he's doing it now. He's doing it. He's using even...
We're not saying it's right.
No, I'm not saying he's right.
But he gave fascist tendencies already in his first term. In fact, Trevor Noah on the Daily Show said Trump has African dictator tendencies.
Yes, he does. He's a fascist. They say, so somebody said I must not call him a racist. I must say he is, a former ambassador wrote to me and said, Botsang man, stop saying Trump. We are trying to get there. He's racist. Rather say he's an extremist right-winger with, what would they call them?
Supremacist.
A supremacist, you understand? Not a race, a supremacist.
Yeah, but supremacy generally...
It's based on race.
It's yes.
And again, the world can tumble
and he's a fascist. Are we allowed to call him that?
I don't know. Look, I don't know to be on that blacklist where Malema and EFN, ANC...
put us on the list, it's fine.
But the nice thing is, again, people, the same night, on Wednesday night, when he decided to increase the rates, tariffs for China, he has given a 90-day period. 90 days, it's a lot. It's
so
3
he's
months.
backtracked basically for 90 days.
He says, guys, for the next 90 days, I've got 75 countries lining up. I hope President Ramaphosa is one of them to come and say, sorry, boss, we are very sorry. Can we talk? That's what Trump wants. That is superpower. That is decisiveness. That's demonstrating that when you have power, how you use or misuse it.
I look forward to a world where we all decide that if they want to isolate themselves, let them. And we will all collaborate and show up for one another, and then they can have their own little utopia there.
But Fresh, you talk in a real good world that we endeavor and wish for.
Yeah.
Understand? Donald Trump, in 3 months, he showed the world that none of this over 100 countries, I don't know how many countries are in the world.
Basically, he said, you ain't shit.
Yeah. He said, show me. I'll show you who I am. Why didn't all these countries? We know what Canada, China,
In fact, Canada, Mexico, and China have shown them the biggest balls.
Let's give credit to our brave brothers, the land of the brave. Let's give credit to Namibia and Burkina Faso.
Yes.
And as a Burkina Faso in Namibia, next door, the lady is on the chair in Namibia for 2 months. He imposed tariffs, 30% tariffs on Americans. He told Americans, if you want to come and do business, you will have to reapply for visas. Namibia has done it. Now, we're talking 5 countries. What happened to the other 100 and something countries? Trump is showing us that the world that you are dreaming of, that you envisage, it's not going to happen without America. He's showing the world that you are nothing. You understand? Only BRICS member states' economy is double the economy of the US. The BRICS, these 5 states. But 3 of the BRICS member states, South Africa, India, and Brazil is a little bit in the middle. South Africa and India are with the US. Brazil in the middle. China and Russia are showing the US a middle finger. So he has even successfully divided BRICS.
No, but on top of that, though, the fact that Russia was not on the list even has people thinking that maybe Trump is a Putin plant.
But we know
in the whole system.
But we know he is. The CIA has found records of Trump being trained economically. Trump was brought on business. People can go and check records by the Russians. The Russians funded Trump to start business in the 80s. You understand? Now,
how he didn't say his dad gave him $1 million.
$1 million. What would you do with $1 million in the US? He's a multi-trillionaire now. But also, Russia was not on the list under sanctions. He's hiding to say they are under sanctions. We are not ready. But Russia has been selling products and goods to the EU, gas, oil to the Americans. So they're not going to touch President Putin and Russia. Trump is smart. He knows that Putin will not budge. Putin will go and team up with Xi Jinping in China, and that will collapse the US. So what he did is he said, Putin, me and you, we are at peace. I'm not fighting with you. I want to deal with Xi Jinping in China. And all these other noisemakers, they are just puppets. And puppets are lining up their jets to go to Washington and talk to President Trump. Guys.
But him dealing with China is only going to disadvantage his own people.
Yes.
Though, unfortunately.
Not to use Chinese products.
The fact that I read an article earlier in the week that the Chinese are saying they're going to relax the copyright laws, and that if Botsang manufactures iPhones, he can now just do grey products and
send it to the US.
And it's fair game, or to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
I would gladly buy an iPhone for 10 rand.
Yes,
I would gladly buy one for 10 rand.
China is hitting very hard at the USA,
and they should.
And they should. That I wish other countries would have responded like that, like Canada. You know, the other day we spoke about the lady in Mexico, the head of state in Mexico, and said to the world, let the world trade amongst each other. We'll chase further away out of America. We'll come and build Toyotas in Mexico. Canadians, guys, the Canadians were in a pivotal position. They didn't just have a strong leader and their governors. They also have an advantage. Canada is supplying 3 states of the US in the northern part with electricity.
Yeah, in fact, that's what Ford said.
Yes.
We're going to put
that's Ford, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
We're going to put a premium on all the electricity that we're sending to the US.
25% to the 3 states.
Yes.
And he said, we are putting it, if he worsens the situation, we'll actually switch electricity off.
Yeah.
But look at how Donald Trump is smart. When he realizes the power of the Canadians, he backtracks. But he has caused a mess already.
Exactly.
He has affected the markets already. His billionaire friends have benefited. People thought Tesla is losing. People thought Elon Musk is losing. They didn't see the behind-the-scenes game they were playing. You understand? They have dominated the markets. They've bought assets. They've bought product. They've got alternatives to their businesses. And I've been saying it for the last 4 or 5 weeks to say there's a bigger game behind this thing.
And in 4 years, when he's not president anymore, and he can be prosecuted, I think he should and should be thrown in jail.
He changed the law. He's going to change the laws. You said earlier,
it will
he's
be
like
repealed.
African presidents.
No, he's like, in fact, African dictators are on some, guys, we ain't shit. This guy.
He's exposing them. The guy will change the laws. They're already even in Washington talking about Trump qualifies technically to stand for another
Imagine another
election.
term.
They're already talking.
Imagine.
The Mugabe, who's the president of Uganda, Museveni. They're already talking that language.
Imagine.
And imagine if Americans can benefit on the last year of Trump. If they can start seeing he's a businessman. He knows at that time unemployment will be dealt with, interest rates will be low, people will be getting their pensions will be safe. He has painted that he wishes on the last year, the Americans will say, no, we are supporting amendment of the constitution or the what do you call it, the central government, the federal law. We are supporting the federal law. They'll go on a referendum to change the federal laws to give Trump another term. And haters will be stressed. Mina, Trump is not stressing me, Tatu, because I believe in chaos. If the situation, you guys want the situation to remain
You're a Buddhist.
but I believe in chaos.
You should not believe in chaos as a Buddhist.
No. You are reading it wrong.
Yeah.
As long as the chaos do not harm and offend people. They don't offend. The people who are offended here is the capitalists, the exploiters, the business people. You know, I am so happy as a Pan-Africanist. I'm looking at the capitalists fighting. They are fighting. Me and you, we don't have. Those who have dollars are stressed now. Those who have rent, they are happy. Their rent has strengthened up. You understand? As a Pan-Africanist, and Pan-Africanism is very close to socialism, I'm looking at the capitalists eating each other. They are now fighting. Those with the money, those who have been exploiting our mines and our minerals. Now we have heard rumors that Zelensky has bought a mine in somewhere in Lepalale.
With what money?
I don't care. With the American money. The Americans were smart. They give Zelensky money to start a war. Then he goes and he buys a mine in the northern province, Limpopo of South Africa, while we are sleeping. You understand? They know the game. I'm happy they are fighting.
Hi guys, recapitulate everyone else on this.
A man comes from a war-torn country to go and buy, if that's the truth, I believe it is the truth, to go and buy a mine in Lepalale, in Limpopo, South Africa. Where were the Zimbabweans next door? Where were the South Africans? Where is the minister or the MEC or the premier of Limpopo who said, Zimbabweans, go and have your health system in Zimbabwe, but you allow Zelensky to come and buy land there? We are still selling land. We're still selling mineral resources. And when those people who own the mineral resources and the currencies and the markets fight, we want to get involved. Why do you want to get involved in rich people's battles? Why?
Unfortunately, as the saying goes, when two elephants fight, or
the turf suffers.
It's the ants who suffer.
No, I don't think we'll suffer. Let the world markets collapse. Let there be a market collapse. Those with debt will benefit. Those with little money will benefit. The rich ones will suffer. And I want the rich ones to suffer. So that in future, they must remember that when you eat the cake, give to the other kids. Then we team up together because we ate the cake together.
But you sound like Marie Antoinette now during the French Revolution. Let them eat cake.
Yes, but by the way, somebody said, this reminds us of who's the French leader during the battle of the Batista battle. Because what is happening now? Trump is behaving like the Batista of the French. You know, historically. Trump is doing exactly that. The world gang up against that to collapse the French economy and the superpower. Try it with Donald Trump and the Americans. Let's just try it.
On that note, we are out of time. We are way out of time.
But in conclusion from my side, when you look and you analyze politics, especially geopolitics, you must look at the two sides of the story. This is an economic trade. This is the battle that caught poor countries and African and developing countries off guard. For me, it's a lesson. We were caught off guard. We're not prepared for something like this because we've been looking at the big brother.
Sure.
Now the big brother is coming and saying, I am the big brother. I'm reasserting myself as America. And that's what happened. We should go self-reliant. Do you think the people in Burkina Faso are affected by this? They are not, because at least 2 years back, they had a leader in Captain Ibrahim Traore, who, as if he saw this coming, they are not affected. They are trading with their Sahel brothers next door. And I think African leaders, especially in SACU and SADC, it's time for them to have sat down, call a summit and say, how do we handle this as a region? They are not doing it. You know, that's my party note to say, let us be visionaries and think outside the box.
Where do we find you online?
You will find me on botsangm@gmail.com or 082-485-9100. And then on social media handles, which I hardly use or respond to, is at botsangm.
But when he does respond, you can tell he's got like 30 minutes, because then he'll send like 100 responses at the same time. So at least we get to enjoy, binge watch the responses. And we're done with another episode of Wow What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks with Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. Coming to you from Amped Studios, downtown Johannesburg. We are part of the Africa Podcast Network. You can get in touch by emailing waw@africapodcastnetwork.com. Trevor and Pezulu Works do all of our cinematography. Otis the Flow Fraser does all of our imaging. And Keleso Modisa King is our executive producer. And you are our friend and favorite for taking another hour out of your schedule to be with us. Till next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves.